Well, let us now continue with the teaching given by Phuntsok Rinpoche. We will continue with a journey to the West and the second lecture on the flight of the Garuda. I have already told you about the oral transmission, and you should be able to receive the oral transmission later tomorrow. Now let's look at the second lecture on the flight of the Garuda. In the afternoon, Yijin Norwu then give the teachings since he gave a first lecture in the morning and then the second lecture happened in the afternoon. In the afternoon, Yijin Norwu gave the teaching beginning Emaho. Listen once again, fortunate heart children. First to hear is how Dharmakaya Samadhabhadra was liberated without having meditated even as much as an instant. Then hear how the 6 kinds of beings have been wandering through samsara without having committed even the slightest virtuous act. Well, I had given these teachings before, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on it. And later you can look into it, look into the commentary on it. He taught all the way from that verse to decide with complete confidence that everything is the natural form of emptiness, non-existent, and yet apparent through the magical display of one's mind, after which you should rest in complete equanimity. And then at the beginning of the lecture, Rinpoche said, at this time, as I am teaching the clear light, great perfection, and you are listening carefully, and I believe most of you have truly understood it. I believe Rinpoche observed from the expressions of the audience, and he felt that the audience really understood it. Especially, do you notice from the photo there's a man with a big beard? He folds his hands. I'm not sure where he is now. He was the one who took care of us back then. He drove us all the way from the very beginning. He picked us up from the airport and then took care of us every day. Not sure where he is now. All of you want to practice the Dharma, this particular Dharma, you should hold devotion and reverence for the teaching and have conviction that one day you will eventually realize its true meaning. As long as you do not break your samaya, as long as you still have devotion, eventually you will be able to realize the teaching of this particular Dharma, this particular teaching, and you will be able to see the true nature of your mind. All of you want to practice the terma of Peaceful Manjushri is practice manual placing Buddhahood within reach is provided in this terma as well. The placing Buddhahood within reach was expounded at another center. He had expounded and generously given to the Westerners at a different center. Well, we have also studied the Peaceful Manjushri, and you can practice this as well. And I advise you to apply it to your actual practice. In this way, you will be greatly benefited. For a long time, I have a deep conviction that the teaching of Peaceful Manjushri will bring great benefit to Westerners, especially to many of you present here, because you are fortunate ones who have an auspicious connection to this teaching. All of you who are listening to it and who received the Peaceful Manjushri practice this year and who practiced it during your retreat this year also are the fortunate ones who have the auspicious connections to this teaching. Rinpoche continued to say that unfortunately I came to the U.S. at an old age, and it is difficult for me to stay to give you teachings and guidance in the long term. Rinpoche said that if he were to travel to the West at a young age, he would definitely be able to give teachings to the Westerners more constantly and for a long period of time. In fact, Rinpoche visited there for only once, though it is not good to make a remark in this way, but I think there are teachers who stay at the West for a long period of time. They would only give some brief teachings, but not as extensive as Phuntsok Rinpoche. I think there are still rooms to give more teachings to the Westerners. The majority of teachers in the West may only give, for example, empowerments and some short teachings to some masters and tokus and so on. Khenpo Sodargye's who are quite proficient at theory and at giving long-term and teachings in depth don't really come to the West, or maybe the Westerners don't request those teachings, or maybe the Westerners do not like to engage in long-term studies. It could be that too. Anyhow, Phuntsok Rinpoche said that, however, I will pray for you that you will actively practice this teaching and gain authentic benefit from it. Whoever teaches Phuntsok Rinpoche, whoever who wishes to practice this teaching, Phuntsok Rinpoche will pray for them to actively practice it. This teaching itself can be very helpful and convenient for you because its meaning is condensed and summarized, which makes it easy to practice. Although people in developed countries like you have busy schedules every day, you probably have lots of work and different kinds of things that you have to deal with, but you still can find it easy to practice Peaceful Manjushri on a daily basis. The Westerners, especially the teachings such as the Vajrakilaya and the Peaceful Manjushri, they're very simple to practice. They are quite condensed and they're easy to practice. So he said that I believe this is a teaching tailored for people who live in developed countries in the West. I will repeat a verse from a prophetic text that I wrote down a few years ago that precisely predicts that this teaching will bring great benefit to people in the West. It says that the sun, universally benefiting all, rises behind the mountains of the east and shines to the west. Ignorant lower mountains do not be haunted when you are covered by the shadows before you. Though you're free from the sunlight temporarily, eventually you will be completely exposed to it. This is a verse that Phuntsok Rinpoche composed, and this is prophetic text he composed. It is not just this one verse, rather there are lots of prophetic verses included. For example, the sun appears in the east, however, it would be beneficial to the west. Various kinds of predictions. Even lots of the changes that's happening nowadays are also contained in that text. So what it means is that the lower mountains do not feel so arrogant about yourself, do not feel that you're full of wisdom. There are lots of hidden meanings within this short verse. What does this verse mean? He continued to say, the practice manual of Peaceful Manjushri was written down by me on Mount Wutai to the east of Bodh Gaya, India, but people who have auspicious connections with it primarily live in the Western countries, and they will greatly benefit from it. Like the sun rises in the east while shining radiantly to the west, which indicates that many Westerners will appreciate its value and receive immense benefit from this teaching in the near future. This is, I think this prophecy has been affirmed at this time. And then the third lecture, which happened on the morning of July the 3rd. Well, Rinpoche said that it is said on a single anther of the lotus, which Buddha, infinite ocean, holds in his hand, is contained this entire 3,000-fold universe to all the way, whether moving or still, mind is the continuity of awareness. So when you have fully comprehended stillness, occurrence, and awareness, then practice these three as one. This is how stillness and thought occurrence are non-dual. He offered a brief instruction as follows. It is essential to recognize that all phenomena are the illusory manifestation of your own mind, and then further realize the very nature of mind. In order to attain such realization, you need to practice shamatha first. In France, Phuntsok Rinpoche also stated that also at this center, the practitioners also practice shamatha quite often. So Phuntsok Rinpoche specifically mentioned that one will not recognize the true nature of mind if he or she is not able to sustain single-pointed meditation for a long time. So practicing shamatha is the first step. Well, recently I've also given an instruction on the practice of shamatha, so you can take reference from there in terms of how to practice shamatha. Furthermore, it is not enough to just stay in single-pointed meditation where one thinks nothing and remain in a state of no thought. Such practice alone is as meaningless as fall asleep or remaining unconscious, and it will not lead you to any higher states of realization. You need to practice Vipashyana based on shamatha. That is, while maintaining single-pointedness, investigate the nature of mind as instructed. While Phuntsok Rinpoche, out of his wisdom, these words of great profundity just gushed out. By looking directly into the mind's essence, you will realize that it is empty, devoid of any shape and color, and lack any true essence. This is the practice of Vipashyana. If you can reach this realization, it is all you need. On the foundation of shamatha, you seek Vipashyana, and then you need to engage in practice of uniting shamatha and Vipashyana. Once you reach the state of perfect union of shamatha and Vipashyana, you will place yourself on the utmost sublime path. Therefore, you should engage in the practice unites both shamatha and Vipashyana in due course. Such practice needs to be repeated and enhanced as much as possible. Now, the fourth lecture in the afternoon, Rinpoche also gives the teaching at the beginning, fortunate and only heart children, listen with your undistracted and attentive ears. Allow this harmonious song by me, the singing renunciant Dzogchen, to be kept on the white snowy peak of your heart to all the way this fruition without anything to be accomplished. I have not come under the power of acceptance and rejection, hope and fear to realize the self-luminous and spontaneous, perfect and present wakefulness, the emptiness where the three kayas are naturally manifest is preciously the primordial enlightened fruition. Over here, you can see a photo of me looking up. This photo was that I was practicing to be awake because I was rather very drowsy at that time. All the notes I made that day, I couldn't make out what I was. I couldn't make up what I was writing about, and I was so drowsy. I was trying to keep my eyes open by looking up. I have already received this oral transmission quite a few times, and we all have a very close oral transmission because Shabtai Rendrol had given Phuntsok Rinpoche this oral transmission in his dream. At the end of this lecture, Choji said this time the treacherous session of the flight of the Garuda is coming to your ears without missing a single word. You should listen to the oral transmission attentively and hold genuine devotion to this teaching. Check yourselves regularly whether you have truly understood this teaching. If not, make your best effort to delve into the text. I believe through the blessings of Shepkar Tsodrubu and his teaching, you will be able to realize this meaning very quickly. Now, according to your faculties, I will summarize this text into 3 points. I believe many of you can also attain realization of the meaning. The teaching of this text is really profound, so practice and recite it very often. Let's look at the 3 key points. The first one is do not feed your conceptual thoughts by letting them arise actively. Rest your mind in its natural state. This is the first state. The first point is the practice of Mahamudra. The second is when mind abides in the state of no conceptualization realization, relax naturally, observe its essence, and then recognize its nature as empty. This is the view of emptiness. And then the third is that abide in such a state and sustain this realization in daily life, or to protect the mind stream. This is the third one. I'll repeat one more time. Naturally rest the mind, recognize its nature, and maintain that state of realization. These three key points summarize all essentials in Mahamudra and Dzogchen's three categories of Tantra transmissions and Upadesha, that is pith instruction. Please continuously and persistently practice these pith instructions. Those of you who can practice in such a way, it will be very beneficial for you to see the nature of your own mind. You have to practice continuously and persistently. Let's stop here today. Let's stop here today, and then after the recitation you can practice the chanting of the Shrangama mantra.